July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, so I'm starting off the month with an interview with a good friend of mine, Klifton Fehr. So Klifton is a business owner, he's a consultant, he's a mental health counselor, and he is a hottie boombalati also. Klifton works with therapyforblackmen.org, and they also have therapy for Black women, for Black girls, right? Mm-hmm. Also, right? Thank you, Klifton, for being in bed with me. You know, the second that I met your dark, luscious, sexy ass many months ago on Wilton, the gayest place on planet Earth, I was like, I gotta get that man in bed with me.
And I thought to myself, I gotta talk to my partner about that.
But see, he's not like most gay men. He at least asked permission first,
right? Absolutely, 100%.
No, and I met and I got to spend some time and talk to your hubby. I respect.
Yes.
Right. You know, I respect 100%. I mean, he really, I think he's Latino and he just doesn't know it. I don't know.
He's got the fight.
Right? He does the fuego about him. Anyway, so since, like I said, when I met you, I knew that I had to get you in bed because, I mean, mental health is so important to our community. It's still such a big stigma. You know, LGBTQ plus Black and brown communities, I mean, most of us need a lot of help. Most of us have been through a lot of stuff. Most of us are learning how to work through life, just our past, and then just living and walking around, and you get all these anti-LGBTQ plus bills being thrown out and all these, and Roe versus Wade being overturned, and we hear Clarence Thomas talking some crazy stuff. I mean, like, you know, our community is hurting, and then folks like you are here to help us not hurt so bad.
It's really trippy to be a practitioner of mental health in this current day and age. Just because of the fact that, you know, for some of us in the field, or for most of us in the field, we really have tried to like just try to own some of our own stuff. But it's interesting to walk out of the door today and realize just how much more of my own stuff is still being kind of pulled up and out and uprooted in order for me to continue to take a look at. So if I'm doing that as a mental health provider, I can only imagine what's happening for the rest of my brothers and sisters in the BIPOC community who don't necessarily have that, you know, that readied idea of going and getting some help or some support.
Why is that, Klifton? Why are our communities so hell-bent on like being stubborn and just like, no, I don't need that. Like, oh, no, that's not for me. There's nothing mentally wrong with me. Like just that statement, there's so much wrong with it. There's not anything mentally, there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect and complete.
Right.
You just need a little help.
Right. So the idea that I watched growing up, so I had both sides of it. So I grew up with Black parents, and then I was adopted later in life by my white Jewish parents. So I could see the comparatives, but growing up in the Black community, I watched how so much of my life or childhood was built in survival, right?
Like a fight or flight kind of deal.
Like, listen, there's generational trauma that was in that home. There was generational substance use and alcoholism. So you got this brewing pot of stuff that nobody's, you know, really kind of introduced a solution to, or some type of, dare I say, antibiotic to help cure some of that illness within the family system, yet alone within the community. The church is a huge part of that, but spiritually, that's a great thing. Mental health is something that is different.
It is different.
You know?
Yeah. And I remember, you know, I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but it's my truth. You know, I remember as a kid, sitcoms, white people sitcoms are what raised me, you know? And so if somebody went to a psychiatrist or a therapist, that was like white people shit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, I mean, and
you saw that in New York.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's nothing farther from the truth. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, why is it that in our communities, it just seems so much harder for our folks to get that help, or to be okay getting that help?
So I think another part of that, right, separate and apart from like the community-based ideas about it, but there's also some people can't access it because of financial situations, right? So there are some disparities there. But, you know, places like, and that's one of the reasons I work with Therapy for Black Men and Therapy for Black Girls, they offer scholarships to help offset the expense that somebody, you know, that a person of color would actually need to have access to in order to actually get some type of support. There's also the a gap between the knowledge base of what psychology or mental health services can do for someone that's struggling with anxiety. What if you don't know what anxiety looks like?
Yeah.
Like, what if you're just walking around tired and feeling like you got foggy brain, right? You can't concentrate. That's anxiety.
That's a part of anxiety.
Right.
So you feel it actually like a symptom.
Yes.
And you don't know that that's what it is that you're feeling.
Just kind of like dealing with like, I've been tired for a while now. I guess I just need to get more sleep. Right. We try to reach for those answers rather than asking some questions.
Asking for help.
Right. Or Googling even.
Or Googling. Right? We love us some Google, right? Klifton was telling me that some of his clients will Google him before they go to his office. They're like, I Googled you. I'm like, but they still showed up, so obviously they didn't find anything bad. You're good. Those sexy pictures of you are all good.
Stop. Please take them down if they're up there.
They're very good. They're very good. So let's incorporate LGBTQ plus stuff into this. All these, there's so much hate out there towards our community right now, Klifton. I try my best to, I'm a very spiritual person. I try my best to be as positive as possible, but when you turn on the news, it's hard to be sometimes, How do you differentiate you needing to speak to someone like you and it just being life?
So, if I could offer anything to someone out there that's really just trying to understand whether or not they're falling under the pressure of life, or maybe even give like another piece of support, it would be just remember, like today, I don't know whether you're 2 years old or 72 years old, like you've been through something, right? Whether it's a little bit or a lot, and there's strength in that, right? There are things there are resources that you had to tap into, whether it's friends, that support group, even if it is spirituality, if it's reading a book, you've done something in order to get over yesterday's hump. Mm-hmm. So it would be reminding you of the fact that you have inside of you the strength or the energy or the effort to get through whatever you're facing today. The next step of it is being able to open your mouth and saying, this is what I'm dealing with, and I need help. Mm-hmm. Just saying that alone, you'd be surprised how many people actually show up. Like, I may say I need help to you in order to fix my car. You may not be a mechanic, but you might know one.
But I might know one, yeah.
And I feel like that's where community becomes a community, whether it's the LGBTQ community, the BIPOC community, right? Like, whatever it is, like you open your mouth and somebody hears it, right? And then they offer some type of support. I don't feel like we're that separate, or we have gotten that far into separatism as the United States of America, even. Like, I don't feel like we've gotten that far away that we can't hear somebody, two people over, say I need help, and then somebody's not just going to help.
How did you get into all this, Klifton?
Experience. Like, I feel like I had enough scars to have someone see me and want to help, right? Help heal those scars, those wounds, the open ones especially. So my adoptive father and my adoptive mother, they are therapists. My dad's a doctor of psychology, and my mom's a master's level clinician.
Oh, wow.
So they put their hands on me when I was in a really dark place when I moved down here to South Florida, suffered from depression, was homeless, like really didn't have like that leg to stand on. And some of that was by choice because there were certain sacrifices or certain exchanges that I was not willing to make, right? And they saw the desperation to hold on to something such as myself. Like, I wanted to hold on to a piece of me, and they were willing to jump in there and actually help me fight for that. So
what a blessing.
Yes, I thank them for helping me save my life.
Literally.
Yes.
Our community is burnt through, rattled, affected by drugs and alcohol, like so much more than many other communities. LGBTQ plus community, my God, I've shared with you that I'm in recovery. I'm almost 8 years sober, and I go to many LGBTQ plus groups. There's a lot of us out there, God, why do you think that we fall into into those crutches, and so to speak, that drugs and alcohol give us.
So there's a struggle to actually find a healthy place or space or safe space for us, for like the little black gay boy, or the little Latin
lesbian. Say it,
right?
lesbian.
Right. The little Latin lesbian. Like there's not that open arms, acknowledged, welcoming space. So you kind of have to figure your way through that if you're strong enough. But if you don't know where to look, like you feel isolated, and you get into that space of that unique, where you feel like you're uniquely different. What is the word? It's a uniquely, you're just uniquely different, right? So you're isolated, you feel alone in that, and all of a sudden the only thing that some people find that actually helps them is drugs or alcohol, right? That depression starts reaching the bottom, and you reach for a bottle, you reach for a pill, you reach for whatever that is that helps ease that pain.
Does that make it any better?
It usually makes it worse. It starts to cloud your own judgment. It starts to change your friend group, and you start becoming really secretive, right? So you go even further into that whole.
Well, they always tell us in the program, you're as sick as your secrets.
Psychology Today came out with a beautiful article about secrets in relationships, secrets as individuals within a family system, all kinds of stuff. But those secrets really do start to create, some toxicity in your own spirit or your own emotional well-being, right? So finding a way to get outside of that as best as possible, and that's why talk therapy helps, because you just keep pulling back,
the onion.
Yeah, and it stops being so infectious, right? It actually becomes
and it stops being so yuck, right? I know that there's got to be a better, smarter, bigger word for it, but it stops being so yuck. Like we're constantly. We all have that dark place. We all have, like you said, whatever we've been through or whatever we're going through. And like, whenever we acknowledge it, we're like, no, put it away, hide it again.
Right.
I don't want to look at it.
Right.
And when you do any work with a therapist, with a group, I think that groups are so important, also fellowship, and seeing that other people go through stuff also helps you not think that you're nuts.
Right. So having people that you can relate to that can say, yeah, I went through that also, or I'm dealing with it right now. Like you don't feel so separate and apart, right? I love that part about group therapy, right? Group therapy actually helps a lot with that too. I'm happy that I've found a good, healthy group of people that I can love, and they can love me back, and I can support them, and they can support me back. But until somebody actually finds that.
And you don't always find them in the bars and the clubs, people. Like, I'm here to tell you that the bars and the clubs are fun, and we love them, and we will be there every weekend. But there's more to life and more to good people that you want to surround yourself that are not in the bars and the clubs.
No, but how do you find that if they're not if it's not mainstream?
No, exactly. That's my question, because you would go to the bar and the club because there's other homos there and lesbians there. All right, cool. I'm going to be a part of, but I'm too fat. I don't look good enough. I'm not funny. Let me start drinking so I could try to take those, inhibitions away, kind of deal, and be, and be free or whatever. And all you're doing is pushing your own stuff down and not working through it.
Who can sustain
that yuck?
Yeah.
That yuck.
Yeah.
Who can sustain?
Yeah.
Most of our community freaking does that on an everyday basis, and they don't have to. Yeah. They can go and sit and talk to someone like Klifton and see how different your life would be. Like I'm not like a Bible humper or like a spiritualist or anything like that. It's just kind of like, I want folks to live their best life, and we're constantly carrying around this book bag of shit because of stuff that we've been through, stuff that our parents did to us, or stuff that we think our parents did to us. Because I've also noticed that the more work that I've done talking to someone like you, the less my childhood sucked. Does that make any sense?
Yes, 100%. You start developing some healthy callousy. Like, you know what? That wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Or no, get this. My mom did the best she could. Holy crap!
Right. Yeah. Imagine that.
Imagine if you didn't have to carry around that book bag of shit. Excuse my French.
You actually start realizing, like, just how messed up their parents must have been in order for them to get to where they were as parents.
And they did the best they could with a crazy ass 6 foot tall lesbian. They didn't know what to do.
Where am I gonna put this, right?
Where do I put this? But she likes dresses. I'm so confused. I don't understand. You know. Clifton, thank you so much for being in bed with us, Papi. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much.
It's so important what you do, what you help our community with, what you help us through. You know, there's organizations out there, folks. There's Cliftons all over that are ready to sit with you. You know, Google them.
Yes.
Find those.
Google.
Find those pictures.
Yes.
You know, if it's not Clifton, there's other folks. You know what I mean? Tell them the website again.
So there's therapy for Black men and also therapy for Black girls. In the local Manners community, there is Sun Serve and also the Pride Center. There are
both organizations that we know and love here in South Florida. And then when you think of, oh wow, I've seen them sponsor this event. No, they also deal with mental health issues.
100%. There are licensed therapists at those places and on those sites. So
there's help.
Definitely.
So make sure that you follow Clifton on social media and all of that. And listen, if you need help, find it. There's people out there that are willing and able to help. And you know, God, you'll feel a lot better for it. Clifton, I love you. Thank you so much for being in bed with me, Papi. Thank you. You keep being the incredible yumminess that you are.
Thank you.
I love you to the moon and back.
I got good company, so I need to make sure I keep up my end of the bargain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for being in the Fay What Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, did you enjoy the show? I know you did. So make sure to click subscribe so you won't miss any of the events, news, or interviews right here on the Fay What Show. Ring the bell at the bottom of the screen, right there, so you'll be alerted every time we're live. You can also click on the Happening Out Television Network logo so you can see all of the shows on the most diverse LGBTQ+ media network. Find out just what we're doing to bring the L and the G together right here on the Fay What Show. Get the week started with me.